You don't realize what you're missing until the exact moment you need it. Phone at 5%, lights cut out, you open your cupboard, and realize half of what you have depends on something that's no longer working. Nothing extreme happened, no major disaster, no warning sirens, just a small shift. And suddenly, normal stops working. Shops are still open, but shelves are already empty. People aren't panicking, they're just all doing the same thing at the same time, and that's what causes the problem, because when millions of people decide to act at once, it doesn't take days for things to run out. Sometimes it takes hours. And by the time it clicks for most people, they're already late. Before May hits, these are 16 simple items people assume they have covered, until they find out they don't. And by the time it clicks for most people, they're already late. Before May hits, these are 16 simple items people assume they have covered, until they find out they don't. Power and light. It's one of those things we take for granted, right up until the moment it's gone. When the lights go out, everything changes. Suddenly, the things you thought you could do, charging your phone, cooking food, even just finding your way around, become a whole lot harder. It's a reminder of just how much we depend on electricity every single day. Backup power. This is the one people feel confident about, until their phone drops below 10%. At first it doesn't feel serious. You think, I'll charge it later. But later doesn't come. No outlet, no power, no way to charge anything. And suddenly, it's not just a dead phone, it's no maps. No updates, no way to check what's going on, no way to contact anyone if you need to. That's when it hits. You weren't prepared, you were just relying on things working. A power bank fixes this instantly. But here's where most people mess up. They own one. They just don't keep it charged. Headlamp or flashlight. Most people grab their phone light. It works, for a few minutes, then your battery drops even faster. Now you've lost light and communication at the same time. This is one of those small mistakes that compounds quickly. A headlamp solves it properly. Hands-free, stable light. You can actually move, search, fix things. You don't realize how important that is, until you're trying to do something in the dark with one hand. Spare batteries. Everything works, until it suddenly doesn't. Flashlight, headlamp, radio, they don't warn you, they don't slowly fail, they just stop. And in that moment, you realize something simple. You planned the item, but not what powers it. This is one of the most common gaps. Not because it's hard, because it's easy to overlook. Manual can opener. This sounds small, almost too obvious, until you actually need it. You've got food, plenty of it, but it's all sealed, and your electric opener doesn't work. Now you're stuck. Not because you don't have food, but because you can't access it. That's the kind of mistake people don't think about, until it's already a problem. Water storage. Not just having water, having enough. People always underestimate this. Drinking, cooking, cleaning, basic use. It adds up fast, faster than people expect, and once it runs out, everything becomes harder immediately. You feel it straight away. Water, filtration. Here's where it gets worse. Clear water doesn't always mean safe water. If supply is disrupted or quality drops, you won't always see it. That's what catches people. A filter gives you control, and control is what disappears first in these situations. Shelf-stable protein. This is where meals start to break down. Carbs are easy, protein isn't, and without it, you don't stay full. Energy drops, you feel it faster than expected. Canned fish, beans, ready-to-eat protein. Simple, but critical. Long-lasting carbs. Rice, oats, crackers. These are what everything else builds on. They stretch meals. They keep things consistent. Without them, food runs out faster than it should. Ready-to-eat meals. This is something people don't think about until it matters. Not everything needs cooking. Some food is ready immediately, and when you don't have power, time, or options, that matters more than anything else. Portable cooking method. This is where most setups fail completely. People store food, but don't think about how they'll cook it. No power means no stove. No stove means limited options. And suddenly, what you stored isn't usable. A simple camping stove solves this. And it's one of those things that sells out fast when people realize they need it. Lighter or matches, you've got the stove, you've got the food, but nothing to light it. It sounds unlikely, but it happens more than people think because people assume it'll always be there until it isn't. First aid kit. Not for extreme situations, for small ones. A cut, a headache, a fever. Handled early, it's nothing. Ignored or delayed, it becomes something else. Hygiene essentials. This is one people overlook completely. Toilet paper, wipes, soap. It doesn't sound important until it is, because discomfort builds quickly, and once it does, everything feels harder than it should. Basic medication. This is one people forget until they need it. Pain relief. Everyday essentials. You don't notice how often you rely on them until you don't have them. Salt and seasoning. This sounds minor. It isn't. Food without flavor becomes harder to eat. Over time, that affects how much you eat and how you feel. Trash bags. Almost nobody includes this, but they're useful for everything. Storage, waterproofing, organization. And when things get messy, this becomes one of the most useful items you have. Final point. None of these are complicated. None of them are expensive. But together, they close the gap most people don't notice. The gap between, I'll get it later, and I should have already done this. Because once that moment passes, you're no longer preparing, you're reacting, and reacting is always harder. If something changed tomorrow, how many of these would already be ready? Because that answer is what actually matters.